all sorts of different strategies in investing in especially in the UK, but we do not limit it to just the UK. We do discuss other things outside of the UK as well. So thank you. If you're joining us for the first time, really appreciate you joining us. And if you're one of the guys watching on YouTube, feel free to follow us on the information that's on the description. So today, I know some of you, most of you would have seen the message that we're going to be discussing a new strategy. We'll say it's a new strategy. The strategy has been there for a while. We just hadn't had anyone to come and talk to us about it in a little bit more detail. So just gonna change this and also mute people.
I think you've muted yourself, Muzi.
Yes, I had muted myself. Okay, can you hear me, guys?
Yes.
Awesome, awesome. Right. So yes, so we are the Zim Property Investors, and we come together every Sunday at 5:30 UK time, and we just discuss everything property. So like I said today, we're going to have an awesome speaker today who's going to discuss with us a strategy that we have known about for a little while, but we hadn't had anyone to discuss it in detail. And I assume that majority of you guys who have joined today are here to listen to this talk as well. So the way that we structure this, Last is going to go through the information. And if anyone has got any questions, guys, could you please populate it on the chat? And then at the end, we will just go through the questions and ask him to answer all of the questions that you put through. So the call is usually for about an hour and a half from 5:30. So we usually finish at about 7 o'clock. If we haven't finished at that point, we will collect all your questions and put them through to Last, who will then respond to you at a different time. And also, if anyone is looking to find out a bit more information about us, the Zim Property Investors, feel free to reach out, guys. If you could send me a message, even on the chat with your phone number or anything like that, I'm happy to contact you guys and see how we can share more information about us. So without wasting too much time, guys, I'm gonna pass over to Last. Are you there with us?
Yes, sir, I'm here.
Awesome. Thank you very much again for being part of this, and we really look forward to what you've got to teach us.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. Nice to come and join you. And I think it was just a last minute invitation, as my name suggests, but I suppose I'm gonna close 2020 with some positive news that maybe continues with the inspiration of property investment in a different way. As Muzi has said, my name is Last Banda, originally from Gokwe, the best part of Zimbabwe. I do run Expeditions Living, which is a supported living service, mainly in health and social care. So we do properties, but slightly different from the traditional open market rent to rent, usually what some other people do. So I'm just gonna go through some slides. Hopefully that will be helpful so that at least people can kind of see what we do. Then we can go through some questions if somebody has got some questions. I hope I will be able to use this technology because I'm not very techno savvy. I will try.
I've just allowed you to share. If you have any issues, let me know.
Okay. So. It seems like it's not allowing me to share. Ah, there we go. I think you've just done it. Okay. So I hope everybody is able to see the screen. Is that correct?
Yeah, we can see that.
Okay, that's good. So this is Expeditions Living, and we do run a separate service called Expeditions Living Training and Consultancy. As I've already said, my name is Lastis Banda, and I do run the service. A brief history about myself. Aviation background, worked for British Airways in Zimbabwe and at Heathrow Terminal 5. I did loads of projects on the Concorde and the 777. Did a project on British Airways moving from T4 to T5. Then moved into Bristol where I did my MBA, and it was quite interesting because Mugo is my sekuru, so we were together when he was doing also his aviation stuff. Went to the States and I did my pilot training with Oxford Aviation. So I do hold an ATPL pilot license, so I do fly as well, but not much now. But yeah, if anyone wants to do anything with aviation, I'm your right guy. I do have a flight instructor's license as well, so I do teach. So that's basically my history. Property-wise, when I started Expeditions Living, we started with the idea that I didn't want to work after 45 years, and I'm only 4 years shy of that. So I'm nearly there, but not yet. So the way it works is we do supported living through CQC. We are a registered care provider. And our service is mainly to provide accommodation for young people with physical disabilities and mental health. It has worked us quite well for the last 7 years, with a staff complement of about 70 and roughly a gross turnover of just over 2.5 million. So those are the figures. Sounds quite a lot of money, but trust me, it's not. We started renting properties from housing associations, and then we transitioned when we saw that there was a gap where we could actually buy the properties ourselves and increase the property portfolio. So now we are no longer renting, we are actually buying them, and our tenants are our clients. So we don't do domiciliary care, we do just supported living, because then we have got a tenant that is our client from the care side of things. So basically our revenue in terms of accommodation comes from the housing benefit, and the care package is a completely separate revenue stream. So in a nutshell, Expeditions Living has got two income streams. One is for the care and the other one is for the accommodation. So how does it work? The health and social care system in the UK is huge. It's unbelievable. But you have got to structure your business so that you are different from somebody else. But there is no competition. I believe there is product differentiation. It depends on what you want to do. We decided that we wanted to build a property portfolio, but for us to do that, we needed to find a client group that would stay with us for longer periods. So we are not chasing numbers. We are not worried about voids. So that's basically what we do. So there are two ways you can do supported living. There is non-registered care providers, which means you don't have to go through the CQC registration, and there is the CQC registered provider. So I will start with the non-registered. If you are a non-registered non-registered care provider, all you are doing is you are a landlord that goes to the local authority and tell them that I've got a house and I want you to use this house for whatever client group that the council or the local authority might have. So they basically rent the house from yourself. So you do not provide any regulated activity, which will be mainly personal care. Traditionally, this has always been called something like school leavers or protected children or asylum seekers. So it's quite a huge market. And again, there are ways of getting those individuals directed to your property portfolios, whether you're doing rent to rent or whatever, it doesn't really matter. What matters is, are you able to convince the local authority that your property is safe and secure? So that's one way. The second one is the CQC registered service. With the CQC registered, obviously there is quite a little bit of work to do to get the registration and get all your paperwork approved, so to speak, with CQC. It takes a little bit of time, but in terms of revenue and referrals, you probably get a little bit more than non-registered, because there is confidence with local authorities to say you have been checked, that your properties are okay, your aptitude in terms of looking after people that need that kind of service or care is there. So those are the two ways in which you can do properties in health and social care, either non-registered or registered. But the difference is the registered one, you tend to get more of those people that will stay with you long-term rather than short-term. So if we were to look at the CQC registration, I just registered quite a few people this year. It's a process. Again, it's not as complicated. If I can do it, anyone should be able to do it, because it's not that complicated. What it is just attention to detail and what they need. For me, it was a little bit challenging because I didn't have any health and social care background. So I was doing it through social networking like today, where I meet people that had done it and get ideas and then figure out whether this would be something that I would be able to take on. So for the supported living services, it's a market on its own, and as a business person, you would need to analyze the market to figure out what is your strength. There are different types of supported living services, as I just said. You can do the non-registered one or the registered one. So it would be a good idea to kind of figure out what are your strengths for those people that has got families or they've done it themselves. Probably a very good idea, because you already know what kind of client group you're going to use. If you have got properties already, it's even much easier, because then you can say, okay, I've got an HMO house and I'm going to look at 10 young people that have got troublesome problems with their families, and social services want them to live in that place, while you provide them with counseling, guidance, or school, whatever it is. So you already know the market. Like I said, the market is almost like, if, the sea. You've got loads of different care packages, different individuals with different needs. So it will be quite good for you as the property investor or as the property owner or as the property procurement person to figure out which client group are you going to look at. For example, I will give you what we do. It might not be your cup of tea, but this is what I do. I look at my service as completely different because I only look at individuals that requires adapted properties. And these adapted properties, it's easy for me to go and say, I've got a 1-bedroom flat that I have adapted. Social services will say, oh, there's a shortage of adapted properties. We've got a young guy that wants to live on their own. Hey, come on, let's discuss this package. And I'll say, okay, my rent is gonna be, I don't know, £1,200 a month, but they will look at the area and they say, well, we can't actually find any open market adapted property, please, can we have it? And I'm like, yeah, okay, go on. But I need also the care because I'm not gonna give you my house without the care. And they say, okay, well, fine. If you're a registered provider, bang, let's go. So we negotiate the care package separately from the rent. So that's how we have been trying, that's how I've built my business around that kind of strategy. It's not easy, but it's doable. So within any business, you have got to kind of target what kind of resources are you gonna put in to make sure that you haven't got a lot of capital expenditure to start with. I use this analogy quite often when I'm teaching around the country on supported living services. Some people think domiciliary care is good. Some people think opening up a nursing home is the best way. Some people think opening up, I don't know, whatever they want to do is good. So I don't know whether you can see my mouse is trying to write something crazy here. You've got this guy here with a big, I don't know whether it's a tilapia, whether it's a big fish or whatever it is, or bream. It's got his fishing rod and he goes and fish and he catches the big one. Then I've got the guy on the right hand side with this big massive boat and loads of fish. He seems to be doing very well in terms of revenue. So if you were a property landlord and you've got loads of properties, I don't know whether you want to be this guy here with the big boat where you can get loads of contracts from social services and put your individuals in your properties. That would be something that you as an individual would need to decide what's your target client. I would just tell you a little bit more about this picture so that you can have a flavor of where I'm coming from. I didn't start with any money. I was a student with a negative equity. Actually, my bank balance was pretty bad. My wife nearly divorced me because I ended up using my credit card so badly. So I was this guy with a fishing rod. So I didn't need to have a lot of money to start with. All I did was just to go in and just to check with other people what they were doing. So I didn't have a lot of capital investment. And my target was to make sure that I get individuals or tenants that will stay in my properties for longer without me chasing the void or worrying about who is going to be living in that property while I've secured it from the estate agent or from the private landlord or from the council, whoever it was. So that was me with my fishing rod. And I had some other friends that had loads of money, obviously different backgrounds and different capital availability. They had resources. So if you think of it as a business, if you were gonna start up this kind of business and you have got loads of cash, this would be you, because you've got loads of money behind and you can buy resources and everything else, and off you go. So that just depends on individuals in terms of where you are in the ladder. Again, I would just refer you to our website where you can see how this works. We do some training on it. So again, this leads us to some experiences that some of you might have already, some business brainstorming. Probably some of you are scratching their heads to say, well, what kind of business would I do now? I've got all these properties. You might be doing rent to rent, serviced accommodation. You know, maybe some of your heads are running around to say, well, this is what I'm gonna do. I don't know. So you need to figure out how you're gonna structure your business. If you have got properties already, again, if you don't have, you'll probably be like myself here with the fishing rod, but it doesn't mean you cannot do something because you haven't got resources. So you can always start from somewhere. So how are you going to get the contracts and accommodation, you know, and staff and all the rest of it? Again, it's not very complicated. Whether you are registered or non-registered, all you need is your determination and talking to local authorities, especially the procurement team within the health and social care of the local authority that you are based in. I found that when I started, I was restricting myself to my geographical area, and I wasn't getting any referrals. And it was almost coming to a point where I was like, come on, I can't do this because I've got these properties and I'm gonna be struggling to fill them. So I decided that the country is huge, the UK is huge. So why shouldn't I be talking to any local authority like London, like, I don't know, Grimsby, like everywhere. So we ended up calling all local authorities in the UK. And right now we have got clients as far as Pembrokeshire. I was actually in Pembrokeshire yesterday. As far as Liverpool, we've got one lady from Aberdeen, London, Hertfordshire, Manchester, up north as far as Leeds, Middlesbrough, coming into our local area because we have got these adapted properties that most local authorities are struggling to provide. The same thing with young people that might be having problems in the local area. Maybe it might be drug abuse, it might be some kind of police issue that they need to be moved from one local area to another. So again, we got in contact with those local authorities and say, hey, we might have accommodation, just ring us. And we are getting a lot of phone calls. What is really the struggle for us now is we don't have accommodation. So it's nice that today I'm talking to most of you guys. I suppose you have got loads of properties. So I'll be interested to talk to any of you that might have those properties and see how we can work together. So from a leadership point of view, any business, you need to have some kind of entrepreneurship or some kind of leadership skills. Again, I've got this YouTube that I normally use during my training programs. I'm not gonna play it today because we haven't got much time on it. The qualities that I found was you need to have some discipline and to be committed to your strategy. Do not have too many strategies and then you become master of none. Choose what you are best at, be disciplined around it, be committed about it, persevere through it, be determined and have courage. And I think with those kind of qualities, you know, it should lead to success. It's not gonna be plain easy. It's not gonna be a smooth ride. You're gonna have bumpy roads along the way. But I think what should actually make us stronger is the headwinds that we face, because then it should motivate us. So accommodation and contracts, how do you procure accommodation and at what point? From a health and social point of view, which is what we do not find, or we do not get accommodation before we get the client. So it's the other way around. I will never tell my staff to go and find 20 properties when we don't have a care contract. It starts with the other way around. We find the care contract first, then we go and outsource the properties. The reason why I'm saying that is because I'm absolutely scared to start paying the landlord before I have got someone that is gonna move into that property. I would just be running out of financial misery and I'll probably get kicked out at home. So we negotiate with the local authorities, whether it's procurement with the health and social care brokerage team, and we give them timelines. If they like our service and they like what we do, we'll tell them, look, yes, we're gonna take this individual, but give us about 4 weeks, give us about 3 weeks. It just depends on the type of accommodation that they want. That way we know that when we are gonna procure that property, we've got a tenant, and that tenant, that property will be theirs for life. When I mean for life, it's a long-term contract. We don't sign anything that is below 10 years. So once that individual moves in that property, we have adapted it, we make sure that they are tied into that property as long as they can live in that property. For example, we've been operating for 7 years, and all the clients that we have got have been, the first ones we started 7 years ago, they are still in those properties. We're still providing them with the care, we're still providing them with the accommodation. So we don't have a problem where we're gonna say, well, what are we gonna do now? Somebody has moved to the country or they've moved somewhere else, unless, you know, somebody obviously passes away or something like that. Thank God nothing has happened as yet. Usually, social services is quite good to replace a client, especially if you have got a specialized accommodation type, because they're in short supply. So that's our strategy. But again, depending on the client group and the type of property, it just depends. So what type of accommodation depends on your client group. Like I said, we only deal with physical disabilities. We don't take any client that is over 45 years. So our client group is only from 18 to 45, the initial assessment. We get loads of clients that get referred to us, but because we want long-term, we're not gonna be looking at somebody who is 65 and living in their own house, because that's domiciliary. Because our point of sale is the accommodation, because we want to build a property portfolio and hopefully will leave us with something when we finally retire. So we don't do domiciliary care. Again, I'm not saying domiciliary care is bad, but for a property investor and for somebody who is looking at building a business that is gonna give you positive rate of return at retirement, you know, you're not gonna be caring for someone who has got their own house. Well, then what? It's not gonna give me anything. It's not good for me. So where do you get properties? Obviously, if you are starting, you can go through the council properties, if they do have any. You can go through housing associations. Again, some of them might have properties and you can lease to start with until you start building your own property portfolio if you haven't got any. Estate agents, for health and social care, you need to be a bit careful with the contracts, depending on the client group that you're gonna look at. Some estate agents, they're very nervous when you start saying, I'm gonna put someone who is on benefits, but these benefits are slightly different from someone on DSS. Health and social care pays what they call accommodation premium. And again, we discussed this in a little bit more detail in different platforms. So DSS normally pays what they call LHA rate, or local housing authority rates, which is roughly around about £120 a week, thereabouts. For people with physical disabilities with a care package, the premium is quite high because those properties are less. For those that have done economics, we use the principles of elasticity, which means how far can you stretch them, because the demand is higher, but the supply is less. So you as the contractor, you can determine your price. That's the trick. So if you have got an adapted property and there is none in your local area and there's 20 people with physical disabilities that wants to live in your area, you have got a bargain. So that's how it works. But some estate agents don't understand this concept. So you need to be a bit careful when you explain to them what you're gonna do. Private landlords, these are brilliant. And again, depending on where you live, if you have got a property portfolio already, that's good because you become the private landlord. If you don't have, and you know someone who has got, or you can outsource, you can do JVs with people with a lot of disposable income. It's a good way of getting into the business because you're not gonna lose your money to start with. You can rent first with the intention of buying. When we started, we rented 3 properties on a 3-year lease with the intention of buying after the 3-year lease. And surely, as soon as the 3-year lease ended, we had enough capital to deposit those 3 apartments. That's how we just started going on like that, renting it, and with the lease of 3 years, then buying it. It's a negotiation process that you need to have. So you need to know your lease and tenants agreements. For those in properties already, I don't want to go through this because you already know what kind of lease agreements you're gonna do. Is it a business lease? Is it a private lease? Those kind of stuff. So social services contracts and procurement. How do you get registered with the local social care brokerage or commissioning team? This is where most people get it a little bit wrong, especially when they're dealing with health and social care contracts. They just haven't got a clue where to get the clients from. Again, it's very simple and it's very easy. Again, when you go on our website, you'll be able to see some of these things. You can register on government e-portals such as Due North, Practice, or local authority tendering systems. Each local authority has got its own tendering system for health and social care. Again, we run some of these services if so you wish, so that you can start getting those referrals without you ringing them on a daily basis. You can also attend market engagements with local authorities. They do loads of these. Again, check within your local area where you are living, what's happening, and they'll be able to tell you what areas are they looking at in terms of pressures and in terms of accommodation. Is it asylum seekers? Is it young mothers? Is it drug and alcohol problems? Is it physical disabilities? Is it, recently I just had a meeting with the local authority on the crisis management for COVID. Believe it or not, they are looking for providers or landlords that can take individuals that get discharged from hospital for 10 days, while if they're separating because they've got COVID. So if you have got already properties and you wanna make as much money as you can with your properties, hey, jump into the bandwagon. You'll probably be able to do some of those packages. I want to go through the assessments and staff recruitment. Again, this probably is not relevant to this discussion today, but I just picked up the slide from my previous discussions. So as as I've said, expeditions living, this is generally our portfolio of the services that we offer. Supported living, mainly for young people with physical disabilities. We do one-to-one service, so we have few that is got shared accommodation, but they don't pay us that much because of the way the structures of shared accommodation. We prefer people living either 2, maximum 3, because then you get an individual with 24-hour care plus the rent that they're paying you. So this is the bread and butter of what we really do. The housing is pretty good because we're trying to increase our housing portfolio through that kind of framework. Most of the properties that we have are adapted. We don't use any of our capital to adapt those properties, whether it needs a wet room, whether it needs a specialized equipment, we don't. We have resources that we can apply through what they call DFG. For those that are in the health and social system, you would know what DFG is. So the capital in terms of adapting those properties is provided by the council. Once the council has provided that equity to adapt that property, they are doing it for that service user. So you know that long term, the council has got no interest whatsoever to move that individual for a very long time. So as a landlord, that would be good news to you because you've got someone who has been funded to live in your house for a very long time. So that is very good. Mental health, we do mental health, but not very much. We had a property, a 3-bed property that we had, where we had 2 guys that had mental health. We are in the process of moving away from that service because of the costs in terms of damages. It's just too expensive to continue calling in maintenance team to go and sort out that they break the window or the washing machine is smashed, or it's just a nightmare. So we tried it, but certainly not what we want to do in terms of properties. But in terms of revenue from the care, this gives you the highest revenue. You could be charging something like 40-50 pounds an hour to look after someone, but the risk is higher and probably you end up problems with finding staff. Holidays, this is just another little revenue stream, especially for the supported living, because most of our clients, they do travel quite a lot. And when they do travel, they travel with the staff. So that again, we charge to the local authority. Personalized support is pretty much as it says on the tin. Let's go to, right. So I'll just sum up, obviously, I've been talking for quite a bit now. The social care market is quite huge. So there's no competition. So you can do it as partners, you can do it as friends, you can do it as, next door neighbors. It doesn't matter. We can never finish the social care market in individual strategies that we're gonna use. There is no way. So I think we need to move away from this idea that, oh, no, my friend Muzi is doing the same thing that I'm doing and he's gonna be nicking my business. No, we need, I see it myself as complementing something that the big guys can't do. So most of the big guys, they want to do big residential houses. I don't have capacity, I don't have cash to buy a big house. Or go and buy a 1-bedroom flat that is maybe 120,000. They want to spend $1 million, but 120,000 is gonna give me someone with a care package of say between 16 and 17 grand a month, because their care package is 24 hours. So that way I maximize the smaller packages, but with a higher revenue. Identify your strength and maximize your knowledge areas for those that are already in the health and social care system. If you're already working in the care industry, you would know what kind of areas you are good at. Unfortunately for me, I didn't have a clue, but I had to adapt quickly. Identify if you're going to get CQC registration and be prepared to work hard for it. If you're going to go through the CQC registration, that's brilliant. Again, you know, on our website, we have got training packages and guidance that will help you through from the initial application to the interview until you get your the CQC licensing. Register with your local authority brokerage team to get clients. This one, you don't really need to be CQC registered. If you have got a property already, again, like I discussed earlier on, go on the e-portals, ring them and tell them, hey, I've got a property. Do you have anyone that needs that property for me to provide? The last point where I said, do you have your plan and your rates and assessment, recruitment? I don't think for properties, this will be really relevant unless you are doing the care. So I don't think this will be really relevant because you're not gonna be charging individual rates if you're just renting the house. But if you're gonna be providing the care, then you need to tell them how much you're gonna be charging them, whether it's £20 an hour, £50, whatever it is, and all the other stuff that you're gonna be doing. Right here. So I think that's it, really. Unless if there's anyone with any question. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That was really good. That was really good. I hope you're ready because there's a bunch of questions that are coming your way right now.
Okay.
No, thank you. So there's a few questions that are on the chat right now, but before I go through them, I'm just going to ask a couple for myself and give guys a chance. If anyone has got any more questions, feel free to drop them on the chat and we'll just go through them one by one.
Okay.
So my first question to yourself is, you mentioned at the start of your presentation that you transitioned from renting to buying.
Yes.
If you could just tell us a little bit more about that. How did you make that transition? Is there anything wrong with renting, or did you feel that you've started generating enough cash flow to start purchasing the properties? What was the thought process behind it?
Okay, the third process in terms of renting to buying is basically to increase the value of the business. If I was renting a property and putting an individual there that I'm caring for, the landlord is basically just claiming the housing benefit and paying the rent, and all my contract is the care. So it didn't give me confidence. Well, it was good to start with, but then there was a point where we had accumulated enough capital to say, now we need to build our own property portfolio, because the money that we're getting from the care and the money that the individual is paying is enough to get for us to get a mortgage, so that the rent that comes from the social services pays for the mortgage, and the care profit is just our profit.
Makes sense. That is one thing I wanted to clarify, and that I think that's a concept that works for all sorts of different strategies. If you get to that point, it makes more sense to generate a bit more cash flow, because the rent you're paying is higher than the mortgage that you're going to be paying if the property is purchased.
Correct.
Okay, brilliant. Question 2 for me is, you talked about registration with CQC. So speak to me as someone who's never heard of this before. Firstly, what is CQC? And then the complications of registering. How complicated is it, or how long does it take, type thing?
Okay, the CQC is basically the Care Quality Commission, is the regulatory body for anyone who wants to provide personal care. I'm sure for people that haven't been in care, you would realize some legacy cases like the Victoria Claimby, like the Winterbourne issues where people got abused in these residential or places where they are there to be looked after. So what CQC does, it gives you a rating to say you as the proprietor or as the registered business, they've got confidence in you that you're not going to abuse these individuals that are already vulnerable.
Mm.
So basically what they do is they do your background checks, they do your quality checks, they make sure your property has got enough ventilation, you've got enough heating, you are going to recruit people that haven't got criminal offenses, all that kind of stuff, because there's no point of you taking young girls that have been abused, then you're gonna bring in a pedophile. You see what I mean? So that's what the CQC does. It's basically a regulatory body that's going to give you a license to say you have been checked, that you're going to have good recruitment policy, you're going to be looking after these individuals without causing them any adverse harm.
Okay. All right, that makes sense. And then as for the registration, is there a timeline for that in terms of how long it takes to get registered?
Again, COVID era, I've registered maybe about 20 businesses since the beginning of February. It doesn't take that long. What normally takes long is getting an inspector to come and inspect you as an individual. But in terms of the requirement, really, you don't have, it doesn't take that long. I've just seen someone who puts on the chat there, do you need qualifications? The honest answer is no, you don't need qualifications as the registered provider, but your registered manager will need qualifications. So that there are two different ways. For example, myself, I didn't have any health and social care background, but because I had an MBA, they accepted my qualifications. But if you're gonna employ a registered manager that has got the qualifications that they need, an NVQ level 4, I think is the minimum requirement. Anyone with any degree will do.
Okay. All right, that's brilliant. Right, I've got one last question for myself, and then I'll be going through the questions on the chat. So as I go through the questions of the chat, guys, if you're the one who's asked the question, feel free to unmute yourself, and I'll ask the question, and if you need further clarification, you can just verbally ask it. Okay, so my last question to you is, do you do just a management service? So you've alluded to the fact that majority of us here have properties. We're managing properties either on a rental or we've purchased the properties. If there's anyone on the call now who is interested in this strategy, but not necessarily interested in running that type of business and would like to just maybe give you the property to run it, have you got a similar service or service like that where you can take over properties?
That's an interesting one. Obviously, it depends how much they want to kill me with their individual rent. I would say, in the bulk of things, I will never say no, but it depends on how are we gonna agree on the package, because it's gonna be a business adventure together. So I would say I will be happy to have negotiations. Like right now, we just won a framework tender in Staffordshire, where we are setting up these services in Staffordshire, and we are starting on to look for properties in Staffordshire. So if someone on the platform has got properties in Staffordshire that is already empty, please let me know, because I've got loads of individuals that I would want to put up there, but I haven't just got the time to go and spend time in Staffordshire. But we have got contracts already in Staffordshire that is ready for us.
Brilliant. Brilliant, brilliant. So I hear an opportunity there to actually work together. So you might be getting a few phone calls from the guys that are on the call now. Thank you very much, Last. Okay, so first couple of questions are from Pauline. If you could unmute yourself. The first question is, how much do you charge for your assisting in terms of registering with CQC?
I don't charge a lot of money. Again, I will refer you to the website. Thank you for the question. Yeah, go on our website because there are two different packages that we run, or two different modules. So yeah, go on. I don't know whether I'll be able to put this, whether it will go to everybody and check our website, which is
I was just gonna say that we will drop your website on the chat anyway. If Mugo, you're on the call, could you just drop the link, please, on the chat for everyone to know which website it is? I know it was on the presentation as well, but if we could just drop the link on the chat, and there's more information that people can get from that as well. Just trying to rush through the questions here as well. The second question from Pauline is, could you explain what you mean by adapted properties?
Okay, adapted properties. What I mean is, if somebody is in a wheelchair, they would not go in a, say, a semi-detached property that has got bedrooms upstairs. Or if you have got a bungalow and somebody uses a wheelchair again and they've got a bath, probably they wouldn't be able to access the bath, so they'll probably need a wet room. So when I mean adapted property, I'm meaning access.
Ah, okay. All right. I hope that clarifies that, Pauline.
Yes, thank you.
Brilliant, brilliant. The next question is kind of a joint question with Javi and Pauline as well. Council housing and social housing are difficult to get into for ordinary individuals. How easy is it to get properties from them for your business?
That is actually very true, because they also are buying services from the local authority. So they try to reserve their stocks to the local authority because it's money for them coming in. So if you were gonna rent from them, you're kind of, you know, competing with them in a way. But again, it depends with your negotiation skills. If you can go and tell them, well, I'll be able to pay you more than what the council is paying, fair enough. Yeah, it is difficult. The council doesn't have properties for accessible properties. That's for a fact. The whole country, they don't. So you'll be struggling to get a council property for somebody who need access. But if you're gonna be taking young people that has got either the school leavers, then yes, you can access a 3-bedroom, you know, semi-detached, mid-terraced, whatever it is. That does not need any adaptation. That is possible.
Ah, brilliant, brilliant. Okay, hope that clarifies that, Jay. Jay's got another question as well. What I've got here, care, question mark. What is it and how is it done? And how do you organize and oversee the care if your clients are all over the country?
Yeah, no, you are not getting clients all over the place. You have got a geographical location that you're gonna be best. So you register with local authorities to bring those clients to where you are best. We don't have clients that we support in Grimsby, but we have got contracts with Grimsby and they bring their clients to us.
Okay. Ah, so they will come to wherever you are.
Yes.
Yeah, but what care? Can you just give us an example of care? What exactly are you talking about?
Okay, care is wide. I wouldn't be able to specify what I mean. Personal care is somebody who needs to be showered, who needs to be dressed, who needs to be hoisted, maybe to go to bed, who needs to be given medication, who needs someone to help them with their shopping. You know, those are whatever physical contact with someone to help them their daily life. That is care.
Okay, let's talk about money.
Yes.
A typical example of somebody who needs that kind of care, being bathed and being given food and all those things. Can you just give us roughly how much would you charge? I'm talking about the package. How much would you charge for somebody like that? Just roughly, really.
Okay, I would tell you, this is why I said you need to analyze your market. Every local authority have got different what they call price ceiling. For example, if you're gonna go the domiciliary care, which is say the over 65 and end of life, you'll probably be looking at something like around about 27 to 30 pounds per hour. And again, the difficulty with those is you're going into someone's house and you're making them a meal, making sure they've got clean clothes, they've got a drink, they've got whatever the care package has been designed. It's based on hours. For us, it's their way of life. You've got a young guy that will probably be born with cerebral palsy. He can't feed himself, he can't shower himself, he can't do anything. He can talk, he can do anything, but he can't use his hands to do anything. So you're going to be staying with that person pretty much all day long, 24 hours. So we charge roughly about £25 an hour, and we pay the staff something like £12 or £10. So you can work out the maths. What is our gross profit per day, per hour, per individual?
And you pay electricity, the bills and all that, yeah?
No, we don't, because the individual becomes the tenant and they pay the bills.
Right. And okay, another example, let's take for a school leaver or somebody who's just got this troublesome behavior.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't need 24-hour care, but you are looking after them. How do you charge? I'm just trying to figure out the money aspect of it. How do you charge and what are you charging for? Just a typical example,
Okay, say for example, you've got a school leaver who is, they call them troublesome children, but they use a fancy word in social care term. I wouldn't know what it is. And they say, okay, Jay, we are gonna look after Crazy A. And yeah. Crazy A, we want you to help him going shopping, make sure he doesn't go and buy weed, make sure he doesn't cause trouble, nicking things in shops. And you have got a house, so we are going to pay you your rent, whichever rent that you decide you're going to charge them. Then on top of that, they will say, okay, for 5 hours to help him budgeting and doing all these things, we're going to pay you £20 an hour. So you're going to employ a member of staff to work 5 hours with that individual. That is your care package. Then the rent is charged separately. You cannot mix the two together.
Right.
It has to be separate. So your rent is completely separate from the support you are giving that individual.
Right. And that individual that you are looking after, you're just looking after that individual for 5 hours per day. Then the other, let's say 19 hours, he's by himself, who takes care of that person?
Well, that's why I was saying on your assessment, you would need to know what kind of strategy you're going to. We don't take anyone with less than 10 hours a day.
Right.
We don't do school leavers because, we could get like 30 minutes a day, but yeah. Obviously they're paying for the accommodation, which is fine, but we want to maximize our revenue from both ends.
The care part, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yes. Mm-hmm. So we don't take anyone with less than 10 hours a day. That is our strategy, but it doesn't mean if you just want your rent, you can't take that individual because you're already receiving rent anyway.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right. No, I'm answered, Spanda, I'm answered.
Thank you very much, Jay. Thanks a lot for the answers last. Just going to move quickly to the next question, which is from Ruvimbo. Ruvimbo, thanks a lot for the question. In terms of being a new provider, would not having any referrals affect your chances of getting clients?
No, it shouldn't. It shouldn't.
Is it down to the fact that the demand is that high?
There is so many, like I said, the care market is huge. It depends on what kind of client group you're going to be choosing.
Okay.
So you need to know your market. Are you going to do with the ex-prisoners? I don't know what kind of clients you're going to be choosing, but if I knew, then obviously we do market intelligence and say, perhaps you're going to be struggling in terms of other providers doing the same kind of thing. I don't know. I wouldn't be able to give you a definitive answer, but you're not going to be disadvantaged from a social services point of view because you're a new provider. No. What you might be disadvantaged is you've picked the wrong client group.
Okay. I think Ruben, you've unmuted yourself. Does that clarify?
I said, okay, yeah, I've understood that. So we're into the care leavers. So I guess maybe it's a matter of competition within other operating agencies that have been there for the longest time, whereas we are new trying to enter an existing market already.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So with the care leavers, again, because it's non-registered, what local authorities traditionally have been doing is they will go to big providers like, say, I don't know, Milestones or the big providers that has already been working with them for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where you're going to find a little bit of a barrier. But if you're going to say, okay, I'm going to go for care leavers, but maybe young care leavers with mental health that want to live on their own rather than in a shared property, that's a different strategy because you're differentiating yourself from the traditional models.
Okay.
And you probably find a smaller property is going to be much easier for you in terms of either procuring it rather than going for an HMO that might need 1,300 deposit.
Okay. That's understood.
Okay, do you want to go into your next question? Because the next question is yours.
So I've got another question. So with our company, there's two different sections, the care leavers one and the CQC side of it. So we have just recently registered with CQC, but we chose personal care. So I was just trying to understand when you said CQC registration, does it mean that when we chose personal care, should we have chosen supported living as well? If we wanted to go into this type
supported living falls into two categories. You can do supported living with non-registration, which means you don't need CQC registration. Okay. You can do CQC with personal care that covers supported living. So you're pretty good.
Okay, so just personal care will cover supported living. Yes. Okay, that's fine. Thank you.
Fantastic, fantastic. Emmanuel, sorry, I skipped your question, but I think this was touched on earlier on in terms of how long the process takes for CQC registration. I think that was touched on. So we've got Dignity Carer saying thank you very much. Very informative, I agree. And next one is Bridget. Thank you so much. It has been helpful as we've just started embarking on this strategy for our properties in 2021. I was a little nervous, but you've truly enlightened me on it, and I appreciate that. Fantastic stuff. Thanks a lot again. Is an HMO license exempt or supported living services?
According to local authorities, anything that is below 5 people is not classified as an HMO. But if you go over 5 bedrooms, then it will be an HMO license.
Okay.
Can I just add on that, Muzi?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah. Just to add to what my brother said, depending on the area, you also need to check what we call Article 4. So in certain areas, anything above 3 bedrooms, you need a license because there will be Article 4 in that area. But Leeds Council, for example, they're saying if you're doing that kind of business, as long as there isn't that much disturbances, they don't have an issue. You don't need to tell them anything. You just carry on as a normal house, basically. Yeah.
Fabulous. Thanks a lot for adding that, Clemens. Really, really important information. Thank you.
Just another addition, Mozi. For those people who are actually having properties, HMOs in Liverpool, Liverpool actually recently introduced Article 4 in September, I think it was. So they're trying to sort of cap the huge spread of HMOs. So just a note for you people. Thank you.
Fabulous. Fabulous. Siyabonga, Baba Moy. So next question is from Portia. When you purchased your properties, is it under normal buy-to-let mortgage or is it a commercial mortgage last?
That's an interesting question. We created what is called a commercial mortgage through a capital investment company, and the company is registered in Jersey for tax purposes. So it's a specialist vehicle because obviously we had quite a bit of cash flow coming in from the care business. But to be tax efficient, you need to make sure that you use that money, otherwise you'll be paying a lot of corporation tax. So we created a special vehicle company registered in Jersey for tax purposes. So that company now buys the properties for expeditions living, so that at least it's not like collision, so to speak, but it's business, you know.
Got ya.
But
Got ya.
it's still a commercial mortgage through a specialist property vehicle.
Okay. So you've got a special purpose vehicle. Portia, does that clarify that question for you? So we've got an SPV set up for this type of business.
Yes, sorry. What did you say is the name of the vehicle? Is it Capital Venture?
Sorry?
Sorry, you said you have a specialist vehicle. What is it called? So you mentioned the name for it. I'm just taking notes.
All right, okay. So the specialist property vehicle, it's a capital company that you create that will be buying properties for your business, especially for care. You can create a specialist vehicle here in the UK without registering outside. It is perfectly possible. If you, obviously, it's good to have an SPV if you are gonna get a commercial mortgage. To get an individual mortgage or a business mortgage is kind of a little bit challenging. I tried it and I was struggling to get properties quite quickly because of the way they want to know about where are you getting this money, you know, why are you moving money from this business to that business? So it was a little bit messy.
All right. Oh yeah, I understand. And sorry, just to add more, so you know, because it's a commercial mortgage, when you want to refinance and you know to get money out, is it harder?
No, it's not hard. It depends on how much the property is appreciated. If you want to get money out of it, it's perfectly fine. Again, the specialist vehicle, they will do their review, they will do their refinancing, they will look at the property. Has it gained value? Yes, it has. By how much? They will do that for you. It's not a problem.
Okay, thank you.
We haven't taken money out yet, so I think my wife is looking at it.
Awesome. The next one is more of a comment, but also that could do with a bit of a response from Pauline. We've heard that CQC don't really like the care provider to be the landlord. I don't know what you think of that.
This is why it's advisable to have an SPV, because then the SPV is your vehicle for properties. CQC actually does not dictate that they don't want you to be the care provider as well as the landlord. What they want is for you to indemnify that if you lose that care contract, are the individuals allowed to stay in that house without you moving them? Because say you lose that individual because CQC comes in and do an inspection and they find your service is bad. And they say, well, we have you know, we're gonna find another care provider to look after this guy,
Mhm.
but you are the landlord, then you could say, guess what? He has got to move out of my house.
Mm-hmm.
So what CQC recommends is, if you are the care provider and you are the landlord, you have got to indemnify that the tenant can live in their house without you providing them with the care.
Yeah.
It's
So
just a
do you-
security for the individual, basically.
So do you need to give them like a written assurance?
Only if they ask you, don't ask them what they
Okay.
haven't asked you.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, superb. So I'm just whizzing through some of these because I'm conscious of our time. I've noticed Tendai, who's on Tendai's iPhone, has pointed out that they're a nurse and is there if anyone needs a manager. Thank you very much for offering. I'm sure people will happily get in touch. So Jawa's question has already been answered. What is the difference between supported living and supported accommodation, from Emmanuel?
I think supported living is a term used to provide the care package itself. Supported accommodation is the house with an individual inside that you're gonna be supporting them for whatever their needs are.
Okay.
So you
Does that
could
clarify that, Emmanuel?
without accommodation. So for example, you find somebody who has their own house and they want you to go and support them. So that's a supported living. Then supported accommodation is maybe you as the care provider, you are supporting them to find that accommodation. So it's just technical terms, but the concept is the same.
Yeah, it sounds like wording there. I hope that clarifies that, Emmanuel. I'm going to move on to Nehemiah's question. In negotiations with private landlords to have their properties adapted, what challenges have you faced and how have you overcome these?
Private landlords do not understand the difference between DSSS and somebody in social care. That was one of the challenges that I faced, trying to convince the landlord to say, look, you are guaranteed rent here. This individual is going to be paid by the local authority. It's very unlikely the local authority is going to lose job, or the local authority is not going to run out of money. Otherwise, the country is going to be bankrupt. If it gets adapted, the landlord, you don't have to use your money. We can apply for funding if we need to change the bathroom, say, into a wet room. But some landlords were a little bit nervous because they just think someone on benefits is either they are on drugs, they've got some troublesome issues, they run away, they don't pay rent, they smash the place, they do parties and all that kind of stuff. So it depends on the individual that you're gonna be looking at and what the landlord understands about social care. So it's a difference between somebody on benefits because they are just, you know, issues with their life, troublesome issues. That would be the biggest challenge to explain to private landlords. But again, it's about how you present your case to them and how you're going to manage their property so that they can have confidence in you. I'll tell you something. When I started, I got rejected with probably about 20 estate agents because they didn't believe my idea. So what I did is I went to the local college and recruited 3 white girls. I'm sorry if there's any white person on this platform. Please don't think I'm being discriminative. But I felt that because they didn't trust me, I had to get someone who perhaps they can relate to. So I went and recruited 3 young girls that were doing social care. And I put them in the office. They still work for me in the office. They've become like the managers and everything else. So they negotiate everything. I tell them what I want. They go and do it. And I kind of do like boot camp stuff where I would just say, we want this. This is what is going to happen. That's it. And I go. So I had the rejection because the estate agent, one, didn't believe me and they didn't have confidence in my business. So I had to find a way of getting somebody that can go spend time and explain to them. And you know, fortunately, it did pay off.
Wow, wow. Do you know, it's a shame we don't have enough time, but that alone is a topic on its own. Last. Okay, so just quickly moving on to the next question from Clement. What is the age range you're catering for? Do you support? Do you provide support for 15? And do you provide support for 16 to 21-year-olds? And do you provide semi-independent living as well?
Okay, I will answer the question as one. Our CQC registration covers us to take someone from birth up to whenever they die, 120, whatever years it is. But the strategy that we use was to find out where can we best fit in the market based on the strength that we had. So yes, we can take somebody who is below 15, but we don't do it. Yes, we can take somebody who is 65 or 90, but we don't do it. The reason why is because our strategy is to make sure we get somebody who is classified as an adult, that we know if we put them in our accommodation, they're gonna stay there long term. I hope that answers it.
Are you there, Clement? Does that clarify the question? I hope it does.
Yes, thanks. Yeah.
Fabulous, fabulous. Thank you. Okay, so next one down is a comment. Thank you very much, Swanda, for your informative and encouraging presentation. Completely agree, that's fabulous. Tendai, thank you so much. We have been wanting to invest in supported living for some time. I think 2021 will be our year to start.
Thank you.
Awesome stuff. This is really good. I think the next question was what an SPV is, and it might have been clarified by Javo on the chat. We don't need to get into that. Thank you very much. Last, very informative, inspiring, inspiring is an understatement. Much appreciated. Thank you very much. I think that's all the questions at the minute, which is great timing as well, because as we said, the call was going to finish at 7 o'clock. On behalf of the Zim Property Investors Last, we really, really appreciate you coming to share your knowledge, which has been absolutely fabulous. And as you've alluded to at the start of the call, this was actually a last minute thing. I actually spoke to Last yesterday, and he was kind enough to just quickly get something together and present, which was absolutely fabulous as well. I try to wonder what it would look like if you actually had loads of time to set yourself up. This was really fabulous. Thank you very much, Mr. Swanda, and this has been brilliant. I'm pretty sure you're gonna have more people come and get in touch with you. We have put the website on the chat, guys. If anyone wants to know a bit more about Last's business and what it is that he does, any support that he provides for this type of business, please get in touch with him on the website, on the chat. If I could kindly ask Mugo to just drop the link again so people don't have to scroll up and down, that would be great. And also for those that have joined us here for the very first time, I did kind of introduce us at the start as the Zim Property Investors community. It's just a community of people that are investing in property in all sorts of different strategies, supported living being one of them. And we just basically share knowledge, share information, so we can help each other through this property journey. If anyone wants to be part of the community, feel free just to join us. I've dropped the link of our Facebook group on the chat. Feel free to come and join us. And we have these calls every week, and we just sort of share information and help each other out. So just want to thank Last again for your absolutely awesome presentation. And thank you guys who are on the call now, and thanks to the guys that are watching on our channel. Feel free to reach out if there's anything we can help with. Thanks, guys.
Thank you all. Thank you so much, and God bless. Hopefully you're gonna have a very good 2021. If you need anything, please just drop us an email and we'll be able to help each other along the way.
Thank you so much. Thanks, Mr. Suranda.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you very much, guys. Take care.